The rain was heavy that night, falling like cold needles from the dark sky. John, a lonely mechanic who lived near the edge of the forest, closed his garage and pulled his old jacket tight around his shoulders. He had just finished work on an engine when he heard a strange sound coming from the woods. It wasn't a normal sound, not like a bird or an animal. It was soft, almost like someone crying, but not human. John stopped. Listening carefully, the sound came again, a mix of pain and fear. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped into the wet grass, his boots sinking into the mud with every step. The wind blew hard, trees shaking like they were afraid. Still, the sound called to him, pulling him deeper into the forest. After a few minutes, he found it, lying under a tree. Soaked and shivering was a small creature. It looked like a mix between a fox and a monkey. But with smooth silver skin and large glowing eyes, one of its legs was bleeding, and strange blue liquid dripped from the wound. Its eyes met John's, wide with fear. But it didn't run. John slowly knelt down, his voice calm. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," he said. The creature tilted its head. Blinking slowly, rain poured down and thunder cracked in the sky. John couldn't leave it there. Not in this storm. He carefully took off his jacket and wrapped the creature in it. It didn't resist, only whimpered softly. John picked it up and started walking back, feeling the strange warmth of its body through the wet fabric. He didn't understand what it was, but he knew it needed help back at his small cabin. John laid the creature on a blanket near the heater. He turned on a lamp and studied it closely. Its breathing was weak, and its wound looked worse than before. John cleaned it gently, using what little first aid knowledge he had. The blue blood was unlike anything he'd ever seen, but the creature didn't seem to be dying, just tired. Hours passed, and the storm outside grew louder. John sat nearby, watching it sleep. Sometimes the creature made soft noises, like it was dreaming. John whispered to himself, "What are you?" The creature didn't answer. Of course, that night, strange things began to happen. The lights in the house flickered. Even though the power was fine, John's old radio turned on by itself, playing soft static. His watch stopped ticking. And when he looked at the creature, he thought just for a second that its shape changed. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray. John made tea and checked on the creature. It was awake now, its glowing eyes watching him closely. It didn't try to move, but when John placed the tea near the heater, it whispered, "Warm." John dropped the cup. Shocked. "You can talk?" he asked, almost laughing from the surprise. The creature blinked slowly, then whispered again, "Help." That word made John's heart beat faster. This wasn't just some lost animal. It was intelligent. He sat down beside it, unsure of what to do. "Who are you? Where did you come from?" he asked. But the creature just looked at him, eyes filled with something more than fear. Something like sadness. Later that evening, John noticed something strange. The creature's skin shimmered under the light like it was made of water. And when he touched its shoulder to adjust the blanket, it felt warmer than before. Suddenly, the creature began to glow faintly. Its shape started to shift, like fog changing into a new form. John stepped back, eyes wide. The creature's body stretched and reshaped, limbs growing longer, head changing shape. A few seconds later, the small animal was gone. In its place was a young girl, not human, but not completely alien either. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes still glowing softly, and her long white hair rested on the blanket. She looked at John and said, "Thank you." Then she fainted, falling back onto the pillow. John stood frozen, heart racing. He had just helped something or someone not from Earth. He didn't know what would happen next, but deep inside, he knew everything had just changed. Outside, the rain started again, soft and slow. like the world itself was holding its breath. The storm was gone. But something heavier than clouds now filled the air. John sat in silence, staring at the strange girl sleeping on his couch. She looked peaceful, almost human, yet not. Her silver skin shimmered like moonlight, and her glowing eyes, when open, seemed to hold galaxies. He had cleaned the wound again, though it had already started to heal faster than anything he'd ever seen. She didn't wake for hours, and John didn't sleep. Kept the lights low, the doors locked, and his thoughts quiet. The world outside his small cabin felt far away. He had questions, too many, but no answers. Just before dawn, she opened her eyes. John froze, unsure of what to say. She sat up slowly, her white hair falling gently over her shoulders. For a long moment, she looked at him without speaking. Then she whispered, "You are kind." John rubbed the back of his neck, unsure how to reply. "I just didn't want you to die out there," he said. The girl nodded, as if she understood everything. Her voice was soft but clear, like music played from a far planet. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I am not from here." John smiled nervously. "Yeah, I kind of figured that." Lyra looked around the cabin, touching things gently: a wooden table, a metal spoon, a dusty old radio. "This world is heavy," she said. "Everything pulls down." John tilted his head. "You mean gravity?" Lyra blinked slowly. "Is that what you call it?" There was something innocent about her, but also ancient, like someone who had seen stars explode and still wanted to hold a flower. She placed a hand on her chest and closed her eyes. "I remember only pieces," she said. "Pain, fear, running. Lights in the sky." John sat across from her, trying to stay calm. "What are you running from?" he asked. Her glowing eyes turned sharp, serious. "They were hunting us," she whispered. "Your kind." John's face turned pale. "What do you mean, my kind?" "Humans," she said, voice trembling. "They took my people, caged us, studied us." She pointed to her side, where the wounds still glowed faintly. "I escaped from a place of white walls and cold hands." John looked at her carefully. "What kind of place?" She struggled to find the words, then said, "Underground. Machines. Voices through glass." John felt a chill crawl up his spine. He had heard rumors about secret labs, strange projects hidden in the mountains. But he never believed them until now. "Why come here?" "To Earth," he asked. "We didn't mean to," she said. "Our ship broke. We fell." John leaned forward, and the others. "Your people." Lyra looked away, her voice like a whisper. "I don't know if they're still alive." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then a sharp, buzzing noise filled the air. The radio turned on by itself again, crackling with static. John grabbed it and turned the dial, but the sound stayed the same. Lyra's eyes widened. "They're close," she said. Standing up slowly, "They found me." John ran to the window, pulling the curtain just enough to peek outside. A strange light blinked in the sky, low and slow. Not a plane, not a star. He reached for his old hunting rifle, then stopped. "What do we do?" he asked. Lyra looked at him, calm but sad. "If they catch me, I won't survive this time." John's heart pounded. He didn't know her, didn't even know if she was telling the truth, but deep inside, something told him to trust her. Maybe it was her eyes, or maybe it was the way she had said "you are kind." He nodded once, firm and steady. "Then we run," he said. He opened the trapdoor near the fireplace, a tunnel built years ago, a storm shelter no one used anymore. "Go first," he said. "I'll cover the door." Lyra stepped into the darkness without fear. Before disappearing, she looked back and said, "John, if I don't make it." "Thank you," he forced a smile. "You'll make it," he said. "Just stay close." Outside, black shapes moved silently through the trees. Lights blinked in the fog, and the night held its breath again. But deep below, in the cold earth, two beings, one human, one not, ran together toward the unknown. The tunnel was cold, damp, and silent. Only the soft sound of footsteps and breathing echoed through the narrow space. John held a flashlight in one hand, the rifle in the other. Behind him, Lyra moved like a shadow, quiet and calm, but her eyes flickered with light like stars trapped in storm clouds. Above them, the world had changed. Black vehicles with no markings surrounded John's cabin. Tall figures in dark armor stepped out, holding strange weapons that hummed in the air. They moved without speaking, without hesitation, like they had done this many times before. But they were too late. John and Lyra were already deep beneath the earth, walking through old escape routes that hadn't been touched in years. John had built the tunnel for storms and safety, never knowing he would one day use it to hide an alien girl from government hunters. After half an hour, they reached the Exeta hidden door behind a pile of rocks near the river. John pushed it open and looked around. The forest was quiet, the moon pale and watchful. He turned to Lyra, who was staring at the sky with wide eyes. "Is it safe?" she asked softly. "For now," John said, "but not for long." They didn't know it, but high above them, drones were already scanning the ground, silent machines built to track anything that moved. Anything warm, anything not human, inside. One of the black trucks, a man watched the screens carefully. His name was Commander Rel, and he had caught many like Lyra before. "She's here," he said coldly, "and she's not alone this time." He zoomed in on a blurry image to heat signatures moving away from the cabin. "Send the hounds," he ordered, "and prepare containment back in the forest." John and Lyra reached an old ranger's cabin, broken and forgotten. They lit no fire, used no lights, just blankets and silence. John checked his small radio, but only static filled the air. He knew it wouldn't take long before someone or something found them. Lyra sat on the wooden floor, her back against the wall, eyes closed. Then suddenly, she opened them, her body tense. "They are coming," she whispered. "Many, fast." John grabbed his rifle, though he knew it wouldn't help much. "What do they want from you?" he asked. Lyra looked at him, her voice a thread of fear. "They want my power. And my silence." Just then, the cabin door exploded inward, not from fire, but from pressure. 3 black-clad soldiers rushed in, their visors glowing red. John fired once, hitting one in the shoulder. It did nothing. The soldier raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Lyra raised her hand. The air bent. Like glass under heat, the second soldier froze mid-step, eyes wide under his helmet. Then he collapsed, as if his body forgot how to stand. John stared at Lyra in shock. "What did you just do?" Lyra didn't answer, her face pale, hands shaking. "That wasn't supposed to happen," she said. "I don't know how outside." More footsteps approached, dozens. John knew they couldn't stay. He grabbed Lyra's hand, pulled her through the back window, and they ran into the night. Through trees, across cold streams, over broken paths. They didn't stop until their lungs burned and their legs shook. Finally, they reached a cliffside overlooking the valley. The city lights in the distance looked like a second sky, far and untouchable. "We can't keep running," John said. "They'll find us again." Lyra turned to him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "Then we stop hiding," she said, "and I show you who I really am." Suddenly, a sharp pain struck John's arm. He cried out. Falling to his knees, a strange light burned into his skin, a symbol. Glowing blue, circular and shifting. Lyra looked at it with horror and wonder. "You're marked now," she whispered. "You're connected to me? What does that mean?" John asked, breathing hard. Lyra looked into the sky, her voice heavy with truth. "It means they'll hunt you too, and somewhere in the distance, under layers of earth and secrecy, someone whispered into a microphone. "We have a problem, sir." The human is now linked to the subject. John woke up in a dream. He was floating. Not flying, not falling, just drifting through endless stars. Shapes moved around him, whales made of light, birds with crystal wings, forests that breathed. In slow motion, he looked down and saw Earth, small and far, like a marble in a sea of fire. Then he heard a voice, soft and echoing. "Do you see now?" He turned, and Lyra was there. Not just a girl now, but something greater. She glowed like a star in human form, her body wrapped in shifting energy and memory. John tried to speak, but no words came out. Instead, feelings passed between them: fear, pain, hope, loneliness, and then warmth. 1,000 memories touched him like falling snow. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, gasping for breath. He was back in the real world, lying on the cold ground, the sun rising behind the trees. Lyra sat beside him, her hand still on his arm, the symbol still glowing. "What was that?" he asked, his voice dry. Lyra looked tired, her silver skin dimmer than before. "I shared part of my mind with you," she said. "It's the only way you'll understand." John sat up slowly, still shaking. "You showed me your world." He said, "Not just my world," Lyra replied. "My people, my pain, my past." She told him the truth. All of it. Her ship had been damaged by a storm in deep space. Her crew crash-landed on Earth by accident, injured and weak. They sent peaceful signals, asking for help. But instead, soldiers came. They were taken to a secret underground lab, studied like animals. Some were killed, some changed forever by machines and drugs. Lyra escaped only because her energy spiked during a test, causing a small explosion. "I thought I was the only one left," she whispered. "But last night, when we connected, I felt them." John looked into her eyes. "You mean your people are still alive?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, but they are trapped somewhere underground." John clenched his fists. "We need to find them," he said. "We need to bring them out." Lyra hesitated. "It's not that simple. They have machines, barriers, and something worse." John raised an eyebrow. "Worse than those soldiers." Lyra looked away, her voice low. "They're using one of us." Turning her into a weapon, John stood up, pacing the forest floor. He could still feel the mark on his arm, burning faintly like a warning. "What's this symbol you gave me?" he asked. Lyra looked at it closely. "It's called a soul mark." She said, "It links your mind to mine. It means I can protect you. And you can protect me." John smirked. "Didn't ask for that." Lyra smiled gently. "Neither did I." Just then, the trees rustled. John raised his rifle. But Lyra raised her hand. "Wait," she said. "It's not a hunter from the shadows." An old man appeared, thin, tired, but not afraid. He wore a long coat and had strange glasses with cracked lenses. He held up both hands slowly. "I used to work where they kept your kind," he said, his voice dry, "and I know where they still do." John and Lyra looked at each other, then at the man. "Why would you help us?" John asked. The man sighed. "Because I saw what they did. And I couldn't stop it, but maybe you can." He handed John a small device, a cracked screen with a map and blinking dot. "Follow this signal," he said. "But be warned. They've changed the facility. It's no longer just a lab. It's something else now, something alive." Before John could ask more, the old man disappeared into the woods. No name, no goodbye, just silence. Lyra touched the device gently, and the screen lit up. Her eyes widened. "This is it? This is where they are?" John nodded, the weight of choice settling on his shoulders. "No more running," he said. Lyra looked at him with something close to pride. "No more hiding," she whispered. And as they started walking toward the unknown, far in the shadows. A new figure watched them through glowing red binoculars. He pressed a button on his headset and said, "Subject is bonded. Target is mobile. Initiate Phase 2." It didn't feel like Earth anymore as John and Lyra walked through the mountains. The sky above them seemed too quiet, too still. Even the wind held its breath, like the world knew something dark was waiting ahead. They followed the old device the strange man had given them. It beeped softly with each step, the signal pulsing like a heartbeat. Lyra didn't speak much, but her eyes stayed sharp, always scanning the horizon. John was tired, but something inside him had changed. He no longer saw Lyra as a mystery or a burden. He saw her as someone worth fighting for. After hours of walking, they reached a canyon hidden deep between two dead hills. No birds, no trees, no sound, just dry rocks and shadows. At the bottom of the canyon, they found it. A metal door buried in stone, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. A symbol was scratched into the metal, glowing faintly. The same symbol that now burned on John's arm. "This is it," Lyra said, her voice low. "This is where they're keeping them." John walked to the door and touched it. It didn't open, but something inside shifted. Lyra stepped forward, placed her hand next to his, and the symbol on the door flashed with a hiss of steam. The door slid open, revealing a narrow black hallway. They stepped inside, and the door sealed shut behind them. No turning back. Inside, the walls pulsed with a dim red light. The floor vibrated slightly, like the whole place was alive. John whispered, "This doesn't feel like a lab." Lyra nodded. "It's not anymore." They moved quietly, passing empty rooms with strange machines, tables with restraints, and broken glass. Some rooms still had dried blue blood on the walls. John's stomach turned. What did they do here? He asked. Lyra stared at a broken monitor, her voice hollow. "They tried to turn us into weapons." Suddenly, a screen lit up in the hallway ahead. A face appeared, cold, expressionless, part human, part machine. It spoke in a low voice. "Subject." Lyra detected, host bonded, tracking engaged. The hallway lights turned blue, and a loud siren echoed through the metal walls. John grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run," he said. They ran deeper into the facility, turning corners, ducking through broken doors. Behind them, footsteps echoed heavy, metallic, and fast. Machines were waking up. Defense drones dropped from the ceiling, scanning and locking onto movement. John raised his rifle and fired, the bullets sparking against armor. Lyra raised both hands, and a shockwave blasted down the hall, crushing two drones into the walls. Her eyes glowed bright now, her power fully awake. But every time she used it, she looked weaker. She was burning energy to survive. Finally, they reached a large chamber. In the center was a glass tank filled with blue light. Inside, floating in a thick liquid, was a young alien barely breathing. Silver hair, drifting like seaweed. Lyra gasped, tears filling her eyes. "That's my sister," she whispered. John stepped closer, but before he could reach the controls, the ground shook. A large door opened on the far side, and out stepped something terrible. It was once one of Lyra's kind, but now, twisted, changed. Its body was covered in armor, its eyes red instead of blue. It growled like a beast but moved like a machine. Lyra backed away, horror on her face. They turned her into this. The creature looked at Lyra, paused, and for a moment something soft flickered in its eyes. Then it roared and charged. John pulled Lyra behind a console and shouted, "Can you stop her?" Lyra shook her head. Not. Without hurting her, the battle had begun. But this was no longer just about survival. This was about mercy, memory, and what was left of someone who used to be family. John gritted his teeth and raised his weapon. "If we can't kill her, We save her, and in that moment, the red lights above turned purple. Something in the facility had changed. Somewhere deep below, a power source woke up and it was watching them both. The air inside the chamber felt heavier than stone. Every breath John took tasted like metal and fire. The mutated creature, once Lyra's sister, stood between them and the tank. Growling low like thunder trapped in a cage, she had once been beautiful, like Lyra. But now her body was twisted, armored with dark plates. Her face half covered in a mask, wires running through her skin like roots. Her red eyes flashed with rage, but behind them, John thought he saw something else. Fear, maybe, or memory. Don't hurt her, Lyra whispered, her voice shaking. She's still in there. John didn't reply, but his fingers stayed off the trigger. The creature leapt, fast and brutal. John rolled to the side, barely missing the strike. The floor cracked. Where her fist landed, sparks flying into the air. Lyra raised her hands, energy pulsing from her fingertips. Not to attack, but to protect. A soft blue shield formed between them, humming like a song only the stars could hear. "Please," Lyra cried out. "It's Meliora, your sister." The creature paused for a heartbeat, her clawed hand trembling, but then the mask on her face blinked red. And she roared again, louder than before. She charged at Lyra, slamming into the shield, pushing it back inch by inch. John jumped onto a control panel, smashing buttons. He didn't know what he was doing, but something had to help. The glass tank behind them began to drain, the liquid spilling out slowly inside. A young alien boy, another survivor, fell into John's arms, weak but breathing. They kept him alive, John gasped, holding the boy close. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. But she couldn't turn around. Her sister was inches away, claws scraping against the shield, her voice growling words that didn't sound like a language anymore. Then the floor shook again, this time from below, a deeper sound, like something ancient waking up from the ground. Machines began to rise, tall, thin, insect-like drones with glowing red eyes. They surrounded the chamber in a perfect circle, and above them, a new voice echoed from hidden speakers. "Subject 03 is unstable," it said, cold and emotionless. "Commencing reset." John looked at Lyra. "What does that mean?" Lyra's face turned white. "They're going to wipe her mind completely," she whispered. "There will be nothing left of her." "No," John said, standing up. "We're not letting that happen." He handed Lyra the small alien boy and stepped in front of the drones, arms wide. "I know you can hear me," he shouted. "She's not your weapon. She's a person. You've taken enough." The drones moved forward, red lights blinking faster. Lyra screamed, "John, move!" But he didn't. Then something impossible happened. The mark on John's arm lit up, brighter than ever before. Blue light shot from it, connecting to Lyra, then to the creature, her sister. For a second, all three of them were linked, and in that second, John saw her memories. He saw her laugh as a child, play in the starlight, hug Lyra before they left their planet. He saw fear, pain, the machines tearing into her mind. The darkness that followed, and he felt it all deep in his bones. Lyra fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "She's still there," she cried. "She remembers." The creature, the sister, took one step back, shaking. The red in her eyes faded, just a little. Her claws lowered, her breathing slowed. The drones didn't wait. They charged their weapons, ready to fire. John didn't move. He simply said, "You want to end this? You'll have to go through me." Suddenly, the mutated girl leaped forward, not to attack John, but to stand in front of him, her arms spread wide, protecting him from the blast. The drones fired, but the light never hit. A massive shield formed by Lyra, the sister, and the connection between them burst outward in every direction. The chamber exploded with light, blue and gold and white. When the dust cleared, the drones were gone. The machines were silent, and in the center of it all, the sister lay still, her body peaceful. Her mask cracked open, revealing a face full of tears. She remembered. Lyra whispered, holding her hand. John lowered his head, heart heavy but proud. She chose mercy. He said, just like you. And deep inside the facility, a new door opened, not one of metal but of truth. Because now they knew what the real enemy was, and it wasn't just machines or soldiers, it was control. The stars were finally visible again, high above the shattered mountain facility. The clouds had cleared, as if the sky itself had been waiting for this moment. John stood at the edge of the cliff, looking down at the place where everything had changed, where blood was shed, where power was tested down, where mercy had won. Behind him, Lyra stood holding her sister, now unconscious but no longer a monster. The energy around her body was fading, her red eyes gone, replaced by the soft glow of who she once was. John turned to Lyra, his voice low. She saved me. Lyra nodded, tears shining on her silver skin. She saved all of us. They climbed down slowly. Carrying the others, 2 more survivors had been found deeper inside the facility, locked away in tanks, forgotten by those who had once called them specimens. Now they were free. At the base of the mountain, a strange hum filled the air. A silver ship, hidden beneath the ground for years, began to rise, its engines whispering rather than roaring. Lyra looked at John. We used the last of our energy to awaken the ship, she said. It's time for us to leave, John said. Nothing. Just watch the craft rise from the earth like a memory returning home. The alien children were already inside, resting, safe for the first time in years. Lyra stepped closer to him, her eyes deep like oceans filled with starlight. You don't have to come with us, she said. You have a world here, a life. John looked around the trees. The dirt, the broken trail behind him. I did, he said. But I left it behind the night I picked you up in the rain. A silence passed between them. Then Lyra reached out and took his hand. Then come, she said. There's more. Then one sky, and you've already touched 2. As they walked toward the ship, the light from the rising sun hit the symbol on John's arm. It glowed once more bright blue. Alive, he didn't know what he would find out there in the stars. He didn't know what battles waited or what peace could be built. But he knew one thing. He had shown mercy, and that choice had changed everything. The ship doors closed, soft and silent. The engines rose with a breath of wind, lifting them. Into the morning sky, below, the earth watched them go, still and calm. Above, the stars made room for a new story, not of war or fear, but of a human who chose kindness.